Hey, it's me, Bobby33, and before I begin this actual closing video of the RareWare retrospective, I just want to thank you all for watching my entire series, whether it's from the beginning from Donkey Kong Country or just the end from Conker's Bad Fur Day. If you watched every one of them, a huge thank you to y'all. If you only watched a few of them, I still thank you. I really had fun making these videos, although I probably won't go into a long retrospective series ever again like this. I do want to make another retrospective series like somewhere in 2018, maybe like 2 or 3 games at max, per series. Right now I'm thinking Pokemon might be the next one, but that may change. But in other words, I want to thank you all for watching my videos and supporting my channel. Now, this is a what if scenario if Nintendo actually kept Rare back in 2002. Right now, I got a list of games that, RareWare has made on Xbox consoles or that was canceled. And here's how it's go down. I'm going to try to keep these games, in order as possible when they were either conceived or released. And pretty much what I gotta do is, if this game was released on a Nintendo console, like for example, if a game on the Xbox didn't do too well, I was probably get my idea if this would have been more successful on a Nintendo console. And most of y'all probably wondering, well, what about an Xbox 360 game? Like, say instead of being on the Xbox 360, it went on the Nintendo Wii instead, which was the competitor at its time. We're just automatic assume that there's going to be some downgrades, especially in graphics. So again, take this with a grain of salt. This is just, some predictions, what if scenarios. So keep that in mind. Keep this in mind also that every game that I list on here doesn't mean that it would guarantee to be on a Nintendo console. This is just all what if scenarios that may or may not happen. So again, keep that in mind. We start off with a canceled game, Donkey Kong Racing. This was in development before the Microsoft acquisition. If this game would have been out, most likely it would have been overshadowed by Mario Kart Double Dash, similar to how Mario Kart 64 oversold Diddy Kong Racing. In fact, considering the library of games that's on the GameCube, I imagine Donkey Kong Racing would have been lost in the shuffle, considering all the racing games that came out for that console, like, Mario Kart Double Dash, Ray Race, F-Zero GX, and Kirby Air Ride. So my prediction is that Donkey Kong Racing would have sold less than Diddy Kong Racing in my opinion. And if Donkey Kong Racing was actually released on the Nintendo GameCube as planned, then I imagine that Saberman Stampede, which was pretty much a game that was being developed on the Xbox that uses the same engine as Donkey Kong Racing, only that game would have been made unless Rare wanted to recycle that engine to make Saberman. But I really can't imagine a scenario that they would do that. On to another canceled game, Conker's Bad Fur Day. To be honest, it's kind of hard to imagine a sequel being made. I guess if it was for the GameCube, it would have most likely been out. But on the Nintendo Wii, would be pretty questionable considering Nintendo's direction during that time. But I don't know, it's a 50-50 chance to be quite honest. I'm pretty sure Conquer Live and Reloaded would not have been made. Mostly because of the virtual console, they would have just released Conker's Bad Fur Day on the virtual console if Nintendo actually decided to buy Rare. That's one thing I forgot to mention, that I think Nintendo would have benefited a lot more if they would have kept Rare just for the library itself. And as for Congregating Medieval, I can't imagine that coming out either. Mainly because that seems to be multiplayer focus with online. And Nintendo's online, at least for the Nintendo Wii and to a certain extent the Wii U, is not very good. Grabby finally remade a game that actually came out on the original Xbox. That remained on the Nintendo GameCube, which was originally going to be developed for. I imagine doing slightly better in sales, mainly because of the dedicated Nintendo fan base, but I still can't picture this game being successful. I played a little bit of Grabby. It seems too simple and repetitive. I don't think it would have caught on by, anybody, even the hardcore RareWare fans. I think Cameo had the potential of selling a lot better on a Nintendo platform than on the Xbox 360. Now the key word is potential. Now if it came in on the Nintendo GameCube, which it was originally being developed for, most likely it would have come at the end of the GameCube's life cycle and would have been forgotten. But if it debuted on the Nintendo Wii, pretty much it's all due to timing. If it came in too close to the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, that game definitely would have been overshadowed. But maybe a few minutes afterwards, it would have found a bigger audience than it did on the Xbox 360. Perfect Dark Zero would have definitely been successful on the Nintendo Wii, especially if it had online multiplayer, which a lot of games, didn't have on that platform. Especially if it came in at the early life cycle of the Nintendo Wii, that game would have sold like hotcakes. As for the cancelled sequel, Perfect Dark, I can imagine at least one of the games getting made on the Nintendo Wii, despite its darker tone. But as for the other sequels, most likely they would say that for the Nintendo Wii U. So pretty much what I'm saying is that Perfect Dark would have probably lived on the Nintendo console. I'll admit, I never played Viva Pinata on the Xbox 360. By the looks of it, it looked like it would have fit in well on a Nintendo platform. In fact, I believe there was a game on the Nintendo DS, which I'm not sure how rare it sold on the market. But if it did decent on the Xbox 360, then I can imagine it being, a pretty decent sale on the Nintendo Wii itself. Jetpack Refueled is another game I haven't played yet. But if I had to predict if it was going to be on a Nintendo console, most likely the Nintendo Wii as a downloadable title. I'm not sure how rare it sold on the Xbox 360 arcade, but I can't imagine selling well on a Nintendo console either. Now we're on to some cancelled games. The first one being Sundown. Sundown is a horror game where you have to survive each and every night, and in the morning you build up your defense before the monster comes out to get you. I can't imagine this being on a Nintendo Wii or the GameCube. Most likely on the Wii U. That's where Nintendo wanted some more rated end games. But if it did ever come out, I can't really picture it selling on the Wii U as well. But that's really more of Nintendo's marketing at the time rather than the game itself. The Fast and the Furious, which is a parody of the Fast and the Furious, at least by name, it was a racing game where you can play as other RareWare characters, And the unique idea of this racing game is that you can build your own car and, fix or get any other parts during the race. Now, it's kind of hard to imagine this game ever coming out, especially considering this is technically the prototype of BanjoKazooie Nuts and Bolts, which I'll get to a little bit later on. But if this game was able to come out on a Nintendo platform, if it was on the Wii, then definitely Mario Kart Wii would have outsold it. But then, pretty decent. If it was on the Wii U, I think it would sold yes, considering how successful the Nintendo Wii U was, or rather unsuccessful. Cameo 2 is another cancelled game. Now, if the first Cameo game was on a Nintendo platform, and if it was successful, then Cameo 2 would have kept the cartoony look rather than the realistic one that you're seeing right now. RareWare went to this approach mainly to appease the Xbox fan base. Xbox 360 games, well, Xbox games in general, tend to go more realistic, and that usually sell better, while the cartoony games usually get ignored. With Nintendo, it's pretty much the exact opposite. Black Widow, another cancelled game, is a shooter where you control this machine pretty much like a spider, able to climb walls and shoot enemies and buildings. Now, I can see this being a fun game on Nintendo Wii if it's pretty similar to Sin and Punishment 2, but there's no way a game like this would have been successful on any platform. I heard rumors that this game was also in consideration as another power-up transformation for Cameo 2. I think that would have been the best use of that mechanic. The last cancel game I'm going to talk about in this video is Tehan. Tehan is a pirate game that looks like it could fit well on any Nintendo platform, but I doubt Nintendo would give the green light to this, especially if it were to come out on the Nintendo Wii. Nintendo wouldn't accept that, mainly because it has a similar mode in Wii Sports Resort, and even if they hold off on the Wii U, even give it the Pirate Wings name, I sincerely doubt that, because of the sales of Pirate Wings 3DS was pretty low. At best, I could see Nintendo probably using that engine on one of its mini games. BanjoKazooie Nuts and Bolts. Now, this is the most interesting game on this list, not because of the game itself, but the history behind it. Now, I believe, and these are rumors, so take this with a grain of salt, I believe originally they wanted to make an actual sequel to BanjoKazooie called BanjoKazooie. I've been hearing different stories here and there saying that it was Microsoft's decision to make them change the direction of development. Others say RareWare decided to add cars in there because the level was too big. Whatever the case, I'm going to discuss two possibilities. The first one being if BanjoKazooie Nuts and Bolts came out on a Nintendo platform, most likely the Wii, since this game came out in 2008. I just can't imagine RareWare doing this themselves. But if it actually did, well, I think it would have sold better just on the name itself. But I still think that the reception was been more or less the same, and the game would still be the same. Now, if they actually make a sequel called BanjoKazooie, the question is, would it still be a collectathon platformer? Because during that time, not many companies are doing that, even Nintendo themselves. When they make Super Mario Galaxy, it was pretty much mission-based with the level mostly linear. You don't really have time to explore or collect a lot of things. So I was wondering if Rare would, follow that direction or keep it as the collectathon. I mean, it's not impossible that they would have kept it that way, especially considering, you know, fans are demanding that game. But if I would have to guess, I think Rare would have gone in a similar direction that Nintendo was taking with their platformers. Kinect Sports is the only game on this list that I'm 100% sure will never happen. Well, not only because of the motion controller that the Kinect use, but also I can't really picturing Rare want to make another Wii Sports in general. Killer Instinct 3 is a tough one to call. Well, first of all, it wasn't developed by Rare, it was developed by Double Helix, but I have heard reports that Rare wanted to make the game earlier on, but Microsoft denied the request. At least that's what I heard. Again, take that with a grain of salt. But if this game were to be developed on a Nintendo console, most likely the Wii U, I think the game would have helped sell consoles. Granted, not enough to save it, but give it life, especially earlier on. This one being, I guess, one of the stranger prediction is that Red Replay would probably when it exists, at least as a physical form on a Nintendo console, mainly because of the virtual console. Most of the games that Rare made would have most likely been available to download on the Wii eShop or the Wii U eShop. But I do think there may be some special collector edition if they were to celebrate Rare's 30th anniversary at the time. But if would have been pretty awesome if they did release all that game on one disc. The thing about the replay on the Xbox One, all the other games like the stuff on the ZX Spectrum or the NES is on the disc, but all the other games that was on the Xbox 360 arcade or Xbox 360 console, that you have to digitally download onto your console itself. So I can't really picturing Rare putting all that content into one disc unless they do something similar on the Wii U. The last game on this list is Sea of Thieves, which hasn't been released yet as of this recording. Well, keep in mind that the Rare team has changed over this time. I mean, it was changing throughout the development of BanjoKazooie Nuts and Bolts at its earliest. So it's hard to imagine they would come up with this idea on a Nintendo console. If they did, would it be Project Dream? Probably not, but again, wishful thinking on my part, I think that would have been a better approach. Overall, I do think that Rare would have benefited more if they stayed with Nintendo, but the real question is, will Nintendo benefit much from Rare? And this may be a bit controversial, but I really don't think so. Out of all the games that I listed on here, a couple of them I think would have sold great on a Nintendo console, and that's Perfect Dark Zero. Cameo may have done better. It may have gotten the sequel that was cancelled. BanjoKazooie probably would have done a bit more better if it was a platformer and not machine vehicle based. And Killer Instinct 3 is maybe a possibility depending on which console it came out first. But other than that, every other game will probably just done a bit better, but not benefited Nintendo greatly. The only thing that Nintendo would have benefited greatly, other than a couple of games that I mentioned, is the library of games. Now, with that being said, I think there's some things that would have been changed if Rare and Nintendo stayed together. Well, first of all, I think Rare would have made the next Donkey Kong Country games instead of Retro Studios. And if that were to happen, imagine what game that Retro Studio would have made. It's like, boy, do I wish I live in the ultimate dimension that that would happen. Second, platonic games will most likely not exist in ukulele as well. And a RareWare character would have most likely been on Smash Brothers. Most likely BanjoKazooie, maybe Conker or Joanna the Dark. But anyways, even if Nintendo wouldn't have benefited greatly from RareWare, they would have definitely used them better than Microsoft did. Which leads me to my closing arguments. To end this RareWare retrospective video, I want to give a brief rundown on what happened to Rare after they were bought by Microsoft. The reason why I'm keeping it brief is because I do have plans to review the Xbox and Xbox 360 Rare games, but I'm taking a break from them for a bit. Now, the game that started out on the Xbox is GrabbyGooie's, an odd choice if you ask me, but either way, the game did not sell too well, along with Conquer Live and Reloaded. Then they launched two games on the Xbox 360 with Cameo and Perfect Dark Zero. Perfect Dark Zero, I think, did okay, but Cameo was forgotten pretty much. Now, during this time, I believe developers like Chris Seaver, Grant Kirkholm, the Stamper Brothers, a lot of people from Rare were leaving due to how Microsoft was treating the company. They felt like they weren't getting enough freedom that Nintendo gave them, so they went on their separate ways. They do come back every now and then to work, either to compose or like in Real Replay, do that little documentary thing. But for the most part, they are off doing their own things. It wasn't until Kinect Sports that Rare found some kind of success on an Xbox console. But other than that, everything has been disappointing both by sales and by receptions. Rare was definitely not the same back then, and unfortunately, things are not looking better. Now, to be fair, Sea of Thieves, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm also a bit cautious about. I know that Rare is a much different team now than it was back then, but I guess deep down inside, I still hope that they will return back to the glory and maybe make a game that I truly like. I do want to say one more thing before I end this video. I think Rare is always going to be the development team that I'm always going to have some fun nostalgia about, and even if things look worse for them, I'm still going to try to support them. Not that I'm going to say I'm going to buy every game, right away, but I do always want to keep an eye on them, and maybe one day they would get better in the future. Maybe Sea of Thieves will surprise me, but I am not having too much expectation for that game, to be quite honest. Well, this is me, Bob33. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. For those who watched my retrospective series, thank you very much. I'm taking a little break from them for right now, mainly to focus on regular reviews. But I hope you continue to watch my videos, whether it be reviews, let's plays, retrospective, or any other videos like this. I would like to thank you for getting me to 100 subscribers, and hopefully we can make it to 200 by the end of 2018. This is me, Bob33, and I catch you guys later.